Of the generals standing behind Donald Trump this morning, you don't see loyalty, you see fear. You see men who know they are witnessing a mistake that cannot be fixed with a tweet. Because what happened today wasn't just a diplomatic spat. It wasn't a trade dispute over milk or lumber. Before we go any further, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because the next 96 hours are going to move fast. And drop a comment right now.
The political pressure just snapped, and it didn't come from another country. It came from inside Washington. In a rare public break, the U.S. House of Representatives moved forward to repeal tariffs placed on Canadian goods by Donald Trump. 6 Republican lawmakers joined Democrats to dismantle the very policy meant to pressure Canada. And within minutes, the reaction arrived. Anger, accusations, threats of consequences. But this time, nothing changed the result. This wasn't a routine vote. It was a direct challenge to authority. And the clearest signal yet that a strategy built on confrontation was losing support. Here's why that matters. The tariffs have been presented as a response to border concerns. But in Washington, lawmakers began asking a different question. Who was actually paying the price? Businesses reported higher costs. Consumers saw rising prices. And pressure mounted on Congress to review the policy itself. Instead of automatic loyalty, something unusual happened: scrutiny. Members examined the economic impact. They heard from manufacturers, retailers, and local voters. And they reached a conclusion. The policy was hurting more people than it was helping. So the House acted, not symbolically, not quietly, but deliberately. And the most important detail wasn't who opposed the tariffs, it was who didn't defend them. 6 Republicans crossed party lines. They did so publicly. And they did so knowing the political risks. For years, influence in Washington often depended on unity and discipline. Support was expected. Disagreement carried consequences. Yet on this vote, economic reality outweighed political pressure. That changes the equation. Because when lawmakers accept risk to oppose their own party's leader, it signals something deeper than a policy dispute. It signals shifting control. The response that followed only reinforced it. Instead of negotiation, there were warnings. Instead of persuasion, there were threats of primary challenges. History shows a pattern. Leaders confident in support build coalitions. Leaders losing leverage rely on pressure. And now the resistance may spread further. In the Senate, figures like Lisa Murkowski and Mitch McConnell signaled openness to repeal as well. That means opposition is no longer isolated to one chamber. It's structural. Even a veto cannot erase what already happened. Lawmakers publicly rejected the approach. And once that line is crossed, it rarely returns to where it was before. Because this vote wasn't just about tariffs. It was about limits. The limit of pressure. The limit of party loyalty. And the moment political strategy meets economic reality. In politics, defeats aren't always measured by laws passed or blocked. Sometimes they're measured by something quieter. When allies stopped following. Something even more significant just happened. The support didn't just shrink, it started to fracture. Inside Donald Trump's own party, unity around his trade strategy began to fade. And the reason wasn't ideology. It was math. For years, tariffs were described as penalties paid by foreign countries. But in everyday life, the bill showed up somewhere else. At the checkout counter, on factory invoices, in household budgets. Consumers paid more. Businesses absorbed costs. Workers felt the slowdown. Prices climbed. Supply chains tightened. Investment hesitated. Gradually, voters connected policy to personal expense, and lawmakers noticed. This wasn't a philosophical argument in Washington. It was practical pressure from home. So what did the public mood actually look like? Across the country, concerns centered on affordability. Families weren't debating trade theory. They were watching grocery totals rise. And when economic discomfort grows, political approval rarely stays stable. Support numbers began to soften. Some Republican lawmakers adjusted their positions. Others kept distance. A few openly questioned leadership. That's how movements change. Not with one dramatic break, but with many quiet steps backward. When political strategy produces disruption without clear results, loyalty weakens. The tariff vote became part of a larger pattern. Internal erosion rather than external opposition. North of the border, the tone looked very different. Doug Ford responded calmly. He thanked lawmakers from both parties and emphasized cooperation with the United States. No escalation, no retaliation rhetoric, just stability. The contrast revealed two governing styles, reaction versus planning. Under Mark Carney, Canada had already been expanding trade relationships beyond a single partner. New agreements, broader markets, reduced dependence. Pressure works best when options are limited. But options had grown. Attempts to use leverage met resilience instead. Step by step, influence shifted, not through confrontation, but adaptation. And that leads to the deeper consequence. Trade conflicts rarely stay economic. They reshape alliances. When partners feel uncertainty, they diversify. When trust declines, cooperation adjusts. Over time, the balance changes. So this vote became more than a policy dispute. It became a verdict on approach. Not a sudden collapse, a gradual loss of persuasion. The lesson reaches beyond one leader or one country. Power built on pressure lasts only while pressure works. Power built on stability lasts much longer. And in politics, the moment allies begin choosing independence over alignment, the real outcome is already decided.